nice to be here in Toowoomba. Hopefully we're going to get some more rain. I definitely need it on the farm, that's for sure. Thanks for the introduction. I'll just go through it again. I'm Clive Arnold, wildlife photographer. I work a lot with National Geographic, doing documentaries, Animal Planet, Discovery Channel. I sell most of my pictures over and around the world, especially to America, signed limited edition. But I'm not going to harp on about that today. What I'm going to talk to you a little bit about is where I was born and bred and brought up, and then how I got here. And then I'm going to talk to you about the animals and what my work is about in Africa. I was born in Zimbabwe, which many years ago was Rhodesia, same as young Richard here. We all went through our problem there. Unfortunately, I came out with some serious scars and had my leg all sorted out and taken off, blown off, put back on again. And eventually I left Zimbabwe, as it was then, about 4 or 5 years after independence. By then I was working with wildlife. I was doing work with elephants and lions and leopards and catching them, dehorning them, fixing them up, releasing them back into the wild, getting the numbers back up again. And then from there I continued my photography and then went down to South Africa, lived in South Africa for some time with my wife, had 2 children there, became an agronomist and an electrician as well, and also carried on with my career there near the Kruger National Park. Cut a long story short, I'm not going to go into that now because it's a long story. Woke up, I went to bed one night and then 10 minutes later I woke up with 9 holes in my chest. Lost my lung and my ribs, survived that, and died twice in 2 days. And then from there, after a couple of years, I decided I was going to come over to Australia. We left everything there, had the farms all lost. We lost them in Zimbabwe and part of South Africa, and then came over to Australia and started here with $30,000, 4 suitcases, one wife, I nearly said 2 wives, 1 wife and 2 kids. We worked really, really hard from there, didn't cry crocodile tears and what happened to us, we just got on with it. Our attitude was, we're here in Australia, we've decided to come here, we're now Australians. The first 2 weeks I was here, I went and bought myself a rugby jersey. And that made me feel like
what
I was
colour
really
was that
real.
rugby jersey?
Oh, it's the green and gold.
You can stay.
Yeah, yeah. And so I'm a proud supporter of any sport that we do here in this country. But I have a small farm here, cattle farm, and we have a nice travel agency here in Toowoomba as well, doing work all over the world. My wife and my 2 daughters run that with a really nice fellow that we've employed. He's a genuine Australian guy, really, really nice guy. And I spend about 8-9 months in Africa or Canada, Alaska, Galapagos. Sometimes I did last year, I went to Europe, did some bits and pieces around there. And every now and again I go over to India and do tours in India. But my tours around the world are obviously based on wildlife because that is what I know as also an ornithologist, which is a guy that writes books and studies birds. So yes, jack of all trades, but my passion is wildlife. So that's where I am now, here in Australia. The nice thing is that at the end of this week, I think I'll pay my farm off, which is nice. There's going to be a party not only for Christmas, but for the celebration of our farm paying it off. We worked hard for it, and it's a nice story. But getting back to where I was years ago in Africa, my work is dealing with wildlife and getting the word out there that Africa is not as bad as everybody thinks it is. When I first came here, I went on the radio and the TV, and I spoke there like I do all over Australia. And I say to a lot of people, we have a lot of white people, black people, all colours coming out from Africa to Australia, and I've heard some of their stories, and like I said on the radio and the TV, I said some of them are so far over-exaggerated that even Rambo wouldn't survive some of their war stories. And it's very sad that we have that, because we have wildlife living behind fences, like the Kruger National Park is 2 million hectares. If we come over here with a bad attitude, a negative attitude, and like we go to London, we go to Europe, we go to around America, all those people that are doing that are damaging Africa, because we're not going to get the people to Africa. And those guys that are running those countries at the moment, if they find out that we don't get tourists going through, say, like the Kruger National Park, they're going to say, well, it's not making any money, let's put cattle here, let's put the black people in there. And that's the first thing they're going to say. It sounds like I'm racist, but I'm not. But they will put the black people in there because that's what they've promised them. They will give them land. And they're already talking about part of the Kruger National Park going to some black farmers or whatever they want to put it into. So we're pushing it, and we're trying to get a positive attitude over there. The other thing as well that I'm battling with as well is people over here are saying to me, all the animals are being killed. They're all being poached. And it's not really that bad. We have, like, near Zimbabwe, up in Zimbabwe, Botswana, Victoria Falls, into Namibia, it's called sort of like Crook's Corner. There's another Crook's Corner down in Zimbabwe as well, near Mozambique and South Africa. But up that part of the world where 5 countries come together, up near have any of you been to Victoria Falls? Up that way, there's 5 countries that come into a corner there. Millions of hectares. Millions and millions of hectares there. We can handle 40,000 elephants. At the end of this year, our figure, we are hoping to have 100,000 elephants there. So that's a positive. We are, the last figure I got 2-3 weeks ago, up until last year, we were getting between 40 and 45 elephants culled a day, which is sad, poached every day. The latest figure is 100. We're getting 100 elephants that are dying a day. But there are so many elephants there at the moment that you can kill 200 a day. The growth rate is a positive growth rate, okay? But the sad thing is that now we are into a negative growth rate with the rhinos. Rhinos in the 1940s, 50s, we had 100 white rhinos left, between 100 and 200 white rhinos left in Africa. I was very involved in breeding white and black rhinos over there with endangered species like the roan antelope and other giant sable. Those numbers went right the way up. We went up to 15,000 black rhino and 7,000 black rhino, up to about 18,000 white rhino. Sadly, up until 2 years ago, we started dropping and went into a negative growth rate. So we're losing 1 rhino every 7 hours now to poaching. It goes over to Singapore, to China, and up into the Arabian states. Okay, Saudi Arabia are taking rhino horn, they're also taking cheetah now, but they want live cheetah. They want king cheetahs, which roam the palaces, so they can have them on chains. That's the next thing that they've started over there. Our rhino horn are going over to Saudi Arabia and places like that where it's getting cut up and used as an aphrodisiac so that the men can get a hard one, erection, big erections. That's what they say helps them. But it actually, in fact, it doesn't do that. Rhino horn is just a compact nail. That's all it is. That's all it is. But to get the message out to these people, it's impossible. We now are losing 1 rhino every, 7 hours. So we're getting, say, 3 culled every day, and we're getting, say, 1 or 2 born every day. So we've actually started to go down now into a negative growth rate, which is sad. It is just about, hopefully, nearly in control. We're nearly there. We do have, in some countries, the backing and the support from the governments over there, like Namibia and Botswana. If any of you say, oh, we're never going to go there, that is an amazing country. Namibia and Botswana, there's no pollution there. Blacks and whites get on together. The governments are working with everybody there. Botswana government there are now opening up more country there for wildlife, and they're just flooding certain areas there in the Okavango Delta with rhino. And they've taken them from a guy called John Hume, who I've worked with over there, who is the biggest breeding herd of black and white rhino in Africa and around the world. And I believe they are bringing some of those rhinos over here. It's a bit quiet at the moment. I won't be saying too much about it. But I might be involved in something like that, bringing the rhinos in. I was involved with rhinos many years ago, brought them into one of the game reserves here down in Dubbo. You all heard about Dubbo. And I put them there, went back to Africa and thought I'd never be coming back to Australia. 5 years later, here I was in Australia, living here. And so for our lions as well, you look at the lions, the people around the world now are poaching lions just for their kidneys and for the gallbladder. They say you drink the gallbladder and eat the gallbladder, it helps with cancers and all sorts of things. The sad thing is that they've taken it from the tigers. There's not many tigers left, so somebody's turned around and said, well, the cats in Africa are the same as the tigers. Their gallbladder is just it's just the same as the tigers. So now they've started poaching lions in some parts in in Africa, which is really sad. We once had 150,000 lions, 250,000 lions. We're now running at between 18 and 19, 20,000 lions in Africa. So my work is still over there. We still have places where we are breeding lions and trying to get them back out into the wild again. The sad thing is that lions and elephants, people don't want them anymore in game reserves or on farms, because what's happened now in Africa is it's all about money. So where you have a guy like Nelson Mandela came into power and he promised everybody, and Mugabe, I'll give you homes, houses, I'll give you this, and I'll increase the wages. So after a couple of years, and I was involved in this and with a couple of farmers, he came in like Nelson Mandela and said, right, we'll put your wages up. And they went up something like 400% overnight. And the farmers just said, listen, we can't cope with this. We're never going to be able to do it. Especially a guy, a very good friend of mine called Bob Roberts. He's now left, packed up and gone. He lives in Namibia. But he came to me because I was nominated Sugarcane Farm of the Year 3 times in a row in South Africa. And he said, what do I do, Clive? And I said, listen, get rid of your tomatoes and all your vegetables. I said, it's got too many labor on there, and that's what's actually killing your farm, is the labor. I said, take some sugarcane. I'll give you some sugarcane. You plant it. He did that, and it just cut down on all his labor. And he started making money, because what have over there, you've got a contractor. He would come in and cut your cane, then your contractor would do your fertilizer and this, that, blah, blah, blah. And then he got rid of all those people on his farm. And he wasn't employing them. So there was 500 people unemployed. So that's basically what was happening over there. And then the farmers are then saying, well, I don't want to do sugarcane anymore, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to put animals in there. So they fenced it and employed about 5 guys, security guys, and a couple of people to run the actual houses and the game farms. And there it was again, more people being unemployed. So Bob Roberts and those guys then started dealing with disease-free animals like roan antelope. And the prices went up, and disease-free buffalo you can buy, I think the latest one was about 40 million rand. A disease-free buffalo went, I don't know if you heard about that, Richard. That's how expensive they are over there. And then all of a sudden, you know, you've got all that amount of animals on your farm, which is worth millions of dollars, and then you get a leopard on your farm, and then you get a lion on your farm. So what does the farmer do? He goes and kills it, he shoots it, because he doesn't want it. So farmers over there at the moment don't want leopards anymore, they don't want lions, they don't want caribou, because they're breeding these animals so they can get them up and back out into other parts of Africa to get the numbers up on just those antelope species. And especially rhino. If you're breeding rhino and you have a small baby rhino there who's worth now worth about 800,000 or 600,000 US dollars. But sadly, if you've got a baby one there, if you've got a lion on your farm, or private lions, and they come and kill it, that farmer then loses 700,000 American dollars. And you don't blame the guy for going to shoot a lion. You don't blame him, because if you've got wheat here, you've got all your roos eating your wheat, what do? You go out and shoot some of them, don't you? Because that's just nature. The guy looks at, if I've got dingoes on my farm, which I haven't, but if they came and ate all my calves, I'm going to go, oh my God, I think I'm going to have to get rid of some dingoes. I might not do it, but I might think of some other way. But that's what's happening over there. It's a vicious circle. It's all about money. So tourism over there has taken off. It's taken off big time. Even myself and my wife are trying to find accommodation over there. We have to book a year in advance to 2 years in advance for some places over there. And we have to put deposits down, take a chance, and hopefully we can get the clients and get them, or I don't call them clients, I call everybody that goes with me over there, I call them friends, and get them over there and go and see the wildlife over there. So that's a little bit about what's happening with the wildlife over there. There is the good, and there's the bad and the sad as well. But the conservation efforts over in Africa at the moment are high, they're really good. When people say to me, is it safe over there? I always say to them, it is safe, but I don't take you to the middle of Joburg at night time, because that's very sad there. A lot of drugs there, a lot of weapons, a lot of hijackings, so I wouldn't go there. So I take everybody into Joburg, into one of the hotels near the main airport there, and it's really safe. From there we fly out, we go to the game reserves, we do 2 to 3 weeks around the game reserves, and I take everybody behind the scenes because I'm allowed to do that. And in some places, some of the game reserves actually roll out the red carpet for me, because it's the amount of work that I've done over there. They recognize me, they know me, And they just say, Clive, you can go and do this, take your clients over there, go and see your friends and drive off-road if you want to as well. And that's one of the nice things about doing my work over there and living here in Australia, is that I can actually offer a lot more. Somebody here earlier on was actually asking me, how do you support yourself as a safari, a guide, a photographer here not in Australia, but in Toowoomba? I think we were talking about that.
Me too, I agree.
And it's hard. It started off being really hard, but it's not. When I said to people here when I was advertising, I'm a wildlife photographer, I work with animals over there, I drive vehicles, I can get you behind the scenes. We go from here to lines and we get out the vehicle, lay down, I do things like that and make people take their photographs, and then from there they get back in the vehicle and then from there we head off again. But it's all about safety. But that is what actually helped me get on my feet here, is that people believed in what I actually did and what I do over there. So I was lucky in that sense that I did all this work while I was over there and came with that over here, and then people said, well, geez, I really want to go with you because you're totally, totally different. So that's how I really got on my feet. My main forte over there is I still do a lot of game capture. I still go over there, dart animals, rhinos. When you're darting rhino, one of my jobs over there was working with a vet, which you see on TV here quite often, myself and them. What we normally do is you dart the rhino, give it the injection. My job is to go with the vet, and then once the rhino starts looking like he's had about 10 beers and he starts lifting up his feet, it looks quite funny watching it. My job is to actually go up behind the rhino and smack him on his bum, on the behind. That's my job. And people always say, what happens if he turns around and comes to you? What I do, you tap him on the bum, make sure his legs are still wonky, and if he doesn't turn around, then you just grab him by his back leg, hold him like that, just pull him like this here, and he will just go down onto his stomach. There's the serious note on that one there, if it does turn around, what I have to do, and it sounds terrible, but you have to lay on your back. You don't move, you don't do anything, just lay on your back. They're short-sighted, they're a little bit blind, and this eyesight's not good. Lay on your back, just look up there, pray. Hope he doesn't stand on you. But it's never really happened to me. Don't run, don't do anything, because they will come for you. So that's one of my jobs over there. Darting leopards is really dangerous over there. We've got a lot of leopards there. There's a lot of cats over there, a lot of leopards, a lot of cheetahs as well. But cheetahs on the Kruger National Park are on the increase. Cheetahs in other parts of the country are on the increase as well. But just going away from that there, going over to, I'll just head off 5 more minutes, is that okay?
You've got 8.
Okay.
Some of that's supposed to be questions.
All right, okay. One of my fortes over there is actually doing the migration. I do the migration every year, which is 1.6, and the good thing is now we've actually gone up to 2 million by the end of the year. 2 million wildebeest and zebra migrating. Have you heard of the migration in Africa, where all the animals cross the Mara River? Well, Anne and I, we have 2 camps in the Mara and in the Serengeti. They unfenced. Really, really, really wild. Absolutely wild. We got chased by lioness here, we got chased by elephant, we got chased by buffalo at the camp.
And you do this for fun?
This is for fun, yes. Yeah. But if you know what you're doing, it's pretty safe. And it's exciting. You know, we've had people come back and they say, geez, that was amazing, I'm going back again. We've got one lady that's been with me to Africa 10 times, and she said, I'm never going back to Africa. Never going to Africa. She's been 10 times. Does anybody know Lionel Davies here? Lionel and Nanette Davies, an ex-lawyer here in...
I want to just ask you, it's very interesting how you're saying about with those animals that they've got. Like here, we can go and sort of develop land anywhere, provided it's law sort of thing, and you know that we haven't got a problem with such an animal that's going to attack you or something like that. What do you think the answer is over there to whereby they can have, is it going to be a thing like where they should set up a big area to say that that's like forest and it's not to be touched for farming and let all the animals be there? Or?
That's what's happening. Remember earlier on I said to you, farmers now are going into it and going into wildlife, big time. So like you look at KwaZulu-Natal, at a place called, I used to work there, Bonamanzi, a place called Bonamanzi. In that area there, it used to belong to the forest area. What they've done now is they've come in and taken all the forest out. This is about It's about 45,000 hectares. They've taken all the forest out of there. It's on the dunes and it goes down into the Indian Ocean. It's an amazing place to go and have a look at. And there is St. Lucia wetlands in that area there, a nice big wetland area there. And it's now just full of wildlife, teeming full of wildlife. No more farming in that area. They've taken it away. Does that answer your question?
But wouldn't they have to have, I mean, isn't there still people going out and illegally shooting these animals that way? There doesn't appear to be the law enforcement enough to stop people doing that.
Yeah, it's a big thing in Africa, poaching. Poaching, you heard of the Big Five. The Big Five is the leopard, the lion, elephant, buffalo, what have I missed out? And rhino, did I say rhino? And they are known as the Big Five, not because, a lot of people say to me, because they're the ones that have been shot all the time. It's not because of that. It's because they hunted for the pelt, they hunted for the heads, they hunted for the ivory, and they hunted for the horn. And those are the ones, those 5 animals are the most hunted for those 5 reasons. That's why they are named as the Big Five. And soon we're going to have the Big 6, which might be the cheetah, because now hunters around the world saying, oh, I wouldn't mind a cheetah on my walk. So they're looking at the pelt on that one there. So, yeah, so there is poaching there, but and it is pretty well controlled in most countries. Sadly, the Kruger Park is losing it a little bit because they're not getting the support from the new Prime Minister that we have over there, simply because he's had a bottle of whiskey by the end of 11 o'clock. Yeah, and it's very sad listening to that guy have a talk at the moment about anti-poaching. But Botswana, the animals are just flourishing there. Botswana, the Prime Minister there has just stopped all hunting. You're not allowed to hunt there. No hunting. They've stopped all hunting. Namibia is going the same way now as well. And over in Zimbabwe, near the Wangi Game Reserve, there's a big anti-poaching unit going there, run by a guy that I know that was there during the Rhodesian War. He still is in that area there and is running the anti-poaching unit there.
Clive, I'm sorry to talk you over. It's just we are running a little bit of short on time, so I just want to ask a question. Yeah. You obviously are living the life that you want to live, and from what I can work out, occasionally you'll bring people along with you to see all of these magnificent sights that you're seeing like every day. What do you do then? How does that work?
So what happens is that people, they email me and say, look, I'm interested in one of your tours. If you have a look, I brought one brochure along today. I should have brought a couple more, but if you want some more, I can send some more. There's some books that I've done on some of the people that have been with me. Have a look at those books and you can see where they've actually traveled with me. So I concentrate on Africa, many countries in Africa, mainly wildlife, and I also do tribes. I speak 4 African languages. But one of the main tribes I deal with over there is the Bushmen, the Sand people. And I helped out many years ago in doing the documentary on that there, but I didn't do the filming or anything like that. I just went to do a little bit of electrical work, and I was quite a young guy when they came out. So it was one of my first experiences working with Jamie Ace doing all that work. And I still go to the same Bushmen there, and we talk about medicinal purposes, and we do the Himba tribes. Those people have got hardly any clothes on, but they live up there near Namibia in the desert there. So that's basically how I operate, and people come to the shop here and say, listen, I want to go on safari with you, what do you do, blah, blah, blah. I have vehicles over there. They are 4x4 Land Cruisers, and they also have pop-up tops. We drive off-road, as I say, in most parts in Africa. I'm allowed to do that, especially in Kenya and Tanzania. And we head off. We do. So I don't do any tents.
How long are these?
2 weeks and 3 weeks.
2 weeks and 3 weeks.
Yeah, I don't do the cheap safaris because my clientele is, say, like from 45 upwards.
Right. So I don't know what a cheap or an expensive safari is.
There's one going for $4,000 at the moment, including airfares.
$4,000 for 2 weeks? Oh, that's
and
not you.
I spoke to the lady the other day and I just said to her, what are you doing? I said, you're not giving Africa a good name because I actually know some people that have done it to her. Yeah. And they actually came to us and just said, I'm never doing that again. All they did, they went over there and they just saw the tar road every day. Tar road, getting from A to B, A to B, A to B.
So if we're coming with you...
If you're coming with me, we go to places where you'll be in front of animals every day. My accommodation is overlooking rivers or lakes, or you're overlooking sand dunes, where I go out to the desert. We do the desert elephants, we do desert lions. I go and catch snakes, scorpions, which if you want me to do another talk one day, I'll come and put all that information up on here, and you can see some of the stuff that I
Hands
do
up for
in
anyone who wants to see
in
another
Africa.
talk.
Yeah.
Okay, you'll be coming back next year. But
So I do things like that. We do hands-on.
okay,
If I'm in
we
southern,
have 30 seconds left.
if I'm in South Africa or so like that, we go to the rehabilitation centre. If I can at the time, and it won't cost you, it normally costs somebody about $1,000 to do it, you'll come with me and we go and dart a rhino, a leopard or a cheetah or a lion or something like that, and you actually see how I operate and what I do in doing that. I can't guarantee you that because it's not every time I'm going to go and dart something. But if I speak to Brian Jones over there, which you've seen on TV here as well, he normally says, okay, Clive, I'll wait for you. 6 months sometimes. He says, I'll wait until you get there that day and I can go and do it. But yeah, like I do the gorillas, do the chimps, I work with the gorillas. The gorillas are up in numbers, the chimpanzees are up in numbers. I do fishing safaris
Thank you
over
for your
into
time.
Africa, tiger fishing, you name it, I do it all over there. Yes, yeah.
Where are you going next?
So I
When's the
go,
next trip?
I've just come back now, I've spent 4 months in one go over there. I'm normally away about 8 months of the year, 9 months of the year. And my next trip is a very special one which I do every year. I only take 6 people with me, and whoever wants to come and do it, they just phone up and say, I'd like to do it with you. It's not to do the migration. It's an amazing trip, this, and I'm the only person who's actually doing this in the world. And the Kenyan government and Tanzanian government allowed me to do it. It's to go and see the birthing of the migration. And it's where they give birth, 1.6 million to 2 million of them, males and females, obviously. And we get between 5 and 7,000 births a day.
Wow.
And when the migration works, it goes to the, sorry, just one more minute.
Yeah.
Sorry, when it goes to
No
the
one's complaining.
east side, the centre, and the western corridor, when they move up in the Serengeti and the Masai Mara. And this is my forte, so it's taken me 5 years to do the documentary. I'm doing my 3rd year in February this coming year. I've still got 2 more years after that. I take 6 people and we go behind the scenes, and you see how we film and how we operate. You bring your cameras along, you don't have to be a filmmaker or a photographer, but I'll show you how to use your photographs, how to use your cameras, how to take a photograph and where to take a photograph. And then we go to Ngorongoro Crater, which is 20 kilometers wide, 700 meters deep. You've got all the animals inside. There's a swamp there, there's flamingos there, elephants, you name it, they're all inside there. Tarangire, we go to Tarangire as well before we start filming, and I'll show you some of the elephants there, which have some of the biggest tuskers in Africa, some of the last remaining tuskers there. So that's it. It takes 6 people there, yeah. So,
Thank you.
Well,
All right, thank you very
thank you
much.
for that.